All right, hope you guys are excited. This is the last session for today. I'm quite sad. It's been a pretty incredible day, hearing from quite a variety of speakers, both from the military all the way through to spatial. And anyways, I'm really excited for this one. This is all about education and how the world's first virtual reality high school changes everything. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Steve Grubbs, who is the CEO of VictoryXR. Now, they recently were awarded for the best educational VR content. Oops, sorry, I'm reading from a different line. My apologies. It was more recent. So I'll let you explain what that one was. But anyways, VictoryXR produces virtual reality curriculum for schools. All right, thanks.
Thank you. So thanks for having us. I'll be speaking first, and Dana Williams, the founder of the world's first global virtual reality school, will be speaking after me. I'll tell you just one interesting thing about myself. A few years ago, they closed my elementary school. And so we decided to purchase it and build the school of the future from my little school of the past. Now, here's the question to you. If you bought your own school and you could put your office in any room that you wanted, where would you put your office? Yes? The art room? How about you? Yeah, how about you? Dr. Morris?
Chemistry lab.
Chemistry lab? I put my office in the teacher's lounge because it was the only room with a private bathroom. I thought, So I'm Steve Grubbs, founder of VictoryXR, and we are a company that not only creates curriculum and learning objects, but also spaces and learning spaces, and we train educators, professors, and teachers how to teach in this new virtual reality education metaverse. And I want to talk a little bit about where all of this is going. And we're not going to talk about my company. We're just going to talk about where education in the metaverse can go. So imagine that you are a teacher and you're teaching anatomy. And you have students gathered around the cadaver, around this table from all over the globe. And as a professor, you're going to teach about the human heart today. So you take your hand, you don't want to get it all messy, and you put your hand down into the cavity of the chest, and you pull out the human heart. And then you hand it to the student to your right. Now, she's from Denver, Colorado. She takes it, she looks at it, and she hands it to the student to her right. Now, he's from Madrid, Spain. He takes it and hands it to the student to his right, who might be from Beijing. That student takes it and begins expanding that heart until it's 8 foot tall. And then the teacher or professor and those students step inside the heart and begin to understand where the ventricles and the cavities are and how they work. Then the teacher pulls out another heart, and this one is a diseased heart with plaque filling the arteries and a stent. And again, they blow it up till it's 8 foot tall so that the students can understand not only the anatomy, but the impact of the decisions that we make in our life. Now, I tell that story frequently when I speak, and a lot of people think, wow, someday that's going to be really cool. The cool thing is not just that. The cool thing is that this is what's happening today. We have Dr. Morehouse here. Dr. Morehouse. We have Dr. Morris from Morehouse College, who teaches inorganic chemistry in the digital twin Morehouse College campus, on the campus. And we have our next speaker soon, Dana Williams from American School, Preparatory Academy. So you can see here, this is the digestive system at the cadaver lab that was deployed at Fisk University with the help of our friends at T-Mobile and Vive. So what they did was they located headsets in a lab. So Fisk University was in a position where they did not have their own cadaver lab. So their students would have to leave the campus of Fisk University and go to Vanderbilt. Well, nobody wants to have to send their students from one school to another. Their pre-med students would go to Vanderbilt. So we deployed, along with the help of T-Mobile and Vive, this cadaver lab on their campus. So now they can keep this anatomy class, this pre-med class, on campus for their students. So we know that biology and science is a great use case for learning. And most people, when we talk about it, they think in terms of science. But literature and history are equally as powerful. So imagine learning about history instead of reading about it or looking at a video. What if you could immerse yourself in that history and not just learn about history, but begin to understand it empathetically, to begin to understand other cultures? So we've not announced this publicly yet, but we are releasing soon Edmond Pettis Bridge in Selma, Alabama. Now, some people want to change the name of this bridge, but what I love about this bridge is it's named after the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan of Alabama back in the day. And his bridge, that I'm sure he was so proud of, became the place where the civil rights marches in the United States started, and now has been claimed for exactly the opposite of everything he stood. And so when we built the digital twin of this bridge, and because it's a synchronous campus, it's not asynchronous, so many students, an entire campus of an entire classroom of students can gather. Now, those students can gather hands together, no matter where they are in the United States, whether they are in the same classroom or whether they're in different states, and they can walk across that bridge, recreating the 1965 Civil Rights March, and they can listen to John Lewis tell the story as they go across, because at each point, there's a stopping point where they press a button and hear John Lewis tell in first person the actual story of one of the three 1965 Civil Rights Marches. And of course, we know that Martin Luther King joined in on the third Civil Rights March that went all the way to Montgomery. And I should never forget to mention Hosea Williams, a graduate of, I believe, Clark College it's right next to Morehouse College in Atlanta. So this is the power of learning in a synchronous campus. So when you learn history, you can travel all over the world. You can travel to the Great Wall of China. You can travel in literature to the courtroom where the final remarks in To Kill a Mockingbird were delivered. And students can sit on the floor where the white citizens sat, or they can sit in the balcony where the black citizens were forced to sit, or they can sit in the jury box, and they can understand this story, this book that most of us have read through high school. They can understand it from the perspectives of different groups of people, especially in this time. This is the power of what we're working on. What gets me out of bed in the morning is the concept of geographic agnosticism. What this means is that, let's say that a year ago, the world's greatest chip architect, someone who should work for Intel or Qualcomm or AMD or some other great company, Taiwan Semiconductor, was born in rural Mexico. He thinks like an architect. Maybe it's a she, and that's what she thinks about all day. She wants to be with those people like that want to do that type of thing, but she'll never have that opportunity. She will never see her potential because she was born in rural Mexico. Because of what Dana Williams, American High School, and many others are doing today, in the future, that student in rural Mexico will fulfill her or his potential because education will be geographically agnostic. So let me tell you a little bit about Dana. So Dana is a pioneer, not afraid to do things that are unexpected of her. Let me tell you, when she went to college and signed up for computer science classes. She didn't see a lot of other people who came from where she came from, but she didn't care. She got her degree, and then when everybody else was thinking about classes that are situated in schools, Dana started her online school, I think, 20 years ago. And so now she called us one day and she said, we gotta figure this out because this is where it's going and we want to lead the world. And so we worked with Dana Williams and her team, Jason Benaby, and to set up American High School as the world's first global virtual reality school, and they launched their classes August 1st. They launched their second set of classes this fall, and they're expanding next year, and I'll let Dana tell you all about it. Dana, come on up here.
Forward.
This one?
Yep.
Okay. Wow. Thank you, Steve, for that introduction. I am Dana Williams, and in about 2002 is when I started working on creating an online college. From that online college, I created then the online high school, because the online high school really was not, nobody was really thinking about it. But I knew that the trend was increasing. So what I did was, I said, let me create the online school and use it for homeschool parents, so that when they get to subjects like physics, statistics, things like that, how are they gonna be able to teach their kids? They have to go back and study it themselves. So that was the whole reason. So using certified teachers, online curriculum, we built the first 24 credits. That's all they needed to graduate. And since that time, we've expanded to have over 500 courses that are online. And we also created, now creating the virtual reality courses. We have CTE courses. All of these courses that we're creating are the ones that we want the students to be engaged in and immersed. Okay, so right now, they're reading and they're watching videos, but the interaction is what we were missing. And so when I'm thinking, I remember thinking about Linden Labs and with Second Life, and that was like back in 2004. And I was like, maybe it's time now for us to use virtual reality. And so I started researching, and I make my staff crazy because when I'm researching, I'm like, go do this, look at this, look at that, and help me figure it out. And they always do. And we came to find Steve with VictoryXR. And I said, Steve, right now, we've got to, do you have like a full curriculum? He says, no, I was going to do that, but with COVID, he couldn't launch the academy. And with COVID, that's when the paradigm shift pretty much changed in terms of really realizing that I don't have to tell anybody about online education anymore. Now I just have to tell them why they need to come to us, because of the fact that we are innovators. We don't wait. If we see something, or I see something, or the staff, we talk about it, we say, yeah, we think that's going to be part of the future. And I know and I feel virtual reality is it, because the students have an experience. They have an immersive experience. It's hands-on with what they're able to do. And that way they can learn much better, and they can feel like they're a part of something. And like Steve was explaining, we've expanded to have a presence in 41 countries right now. And so when we're thinking about the example that Steve gave, all of these people from all of these different areas now can come together in this virtual space. And there's nobody, well, not nobody, but the way that we do our classes now, it's asynchronous. So the kids work whenever they want to. This way, with the virtual reality, it's synchronous. So they're working together at a certain day and time, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays, with the teacher in the virtual environment. We started with biology, chemistry, and world history. And those 3 classes, we did a proof of concept. We were, with Steve, we also were able to come together with Qualcomm. And Qualcomm, their part of this was that they wanted to work with a school, because they're not an education company, but a technology company, and they wanted to experiment with VR. And me, because I want to just, try everything that's the latest and greatest, I was like, yes, that's great. Let's put it together. So we put together the proof of concept, working with Steve. He had all of the assets and the objects. Qualcomm donated the headsets. We had 60 students that we were going to put in the pilot program. The first one was in, I believe, September? No, let's see. August, yep, August. And that was when we had to try to figure everything out. We weren't sure, the teachers weren't sure how to do it. Practice, they had to create the simulations, they had to create, the activities. And so we got through that one pretty good. But we learned a lot of lessons. We learned what to do, what not to do. And so now the one that's going on now this fall is going off without a hitch. And the students love it. They are engaged. They're working with it. As a matter of fact, today, Jason, he's back there somewhere, he was supposed to be doing the astronomy class this afternoon. Well, we got tied up, and we were doing something else. Do you know that because of the fact that we have Microsoft Teams, the students can click on call us at any time. So we keep Teams running on our phone. He didn't realize that the class was postponed today because we weren't, Jason was doing something else. When would a student call the teacher and say, where are you? Where's the class? Where's everybody? And that's a testimonial to how they are learning, how they want to learn, how they're engaged in the astronomy class or the history class. We can take them back in time and they can experience those things in real time. So right now, let's see. Right now, because of the fact that we have accreditation, and they always ask us, they say, how are you engaging the students? What are you doing? Well, we say that we're working with them. We have one-on-one, but it was still something was missing, and that was that virtual reality component. And that's why I think that is the future, and that's the direction that we're going in. So we have, let's see, we have currently right now the biology, chemistry, and world history, and we have in the makings the following courses: anatomy, music appreciation, art appreciation, zoology, forensics. Those are the ones that we're hoping to launch this spring 2022. We also are going to be working on the CTE courses, the Career and Technical Education. We're putting it in a virtual reality, but those classes are not going to be asynchronous. I mean, those classes are not going to be synchronous. They're going to be asynchronous. So the students will be able to work whenever they want to. And with that, these classes, we're realizing that a lot of our students are not planning to go to college, which is not surprising, but when we first started, we were college prep, and we still are college prep. We offer K-12, and we have adult learners. So the adult learners, they come back to us for many reasons: to get their high school diploma they didn't finish, or we have the students that are aging out of school, so they need options too. So instead of just sending them out there with a high school diploma, and if they have no intention of going to college, then why not give them the opportunity to earn certifications in the various CTE courses? And doing it in a virtual world, it makes them know exactly what to do if they're going to go out and get a job, like let's say in plumbing. Because now if they undo the pipes, they can make a mistake in virtual reality, and let's say they do something with the pipe and all this hot water comes out. Well, they'll know when they're on the job, oh, I can't do that because it's going to, the water's going to be, hot or whatever and come, go everywhere. So it's those things that we're trying to give the students the opportunity to really excel, even if you don't plan to go to college. So we have drone piloting, we have criminal justice, we have culinary arts, carpentry, coding, healthcare assistant, nursing assistant, medical transcriptionist, and then we even have Taekwondo, where you can earn your yellow belt. So these are the classes that we're creating, and all of it's done in VR. We're not doing anything at all from this point forward where you have just the static online class. It's all going to be changed to the virtual reality, because that's how the students are going to learn. And we've got to keep them engaged. We've got to keep them learning. We've got to keep them, critical thinking skills are so important. And with virtual reality, you have to figure things out. So you have your activities, you're led by the instructor, but like for the DNA strand or something like that that you're working on, it's like they have to put together different molecules or whatever it is that they're doing, and they have to create things. So because it's hands-on, it means that their learning is much more, it's much faster, really, because when we looked at the students that were taking the online class only, they were actually a lot slower in doing the coursework than those in the synchronous with the instructor in the virtual reality course. The ones that were in that course also were the ones that were able to demonstrate mastery much better than the ones that were in just the regular course. And so it's because of that that we said, this is our vision, this is our purpose, this is what was, where we're going. And so we're just going to continue working with Steve at VictoryXR, Qualcomm, to be able to create more classes and be the first that really is going to be the very first synchronous online global school. And that way we can make a difference and change lives in all the countries that we're in, over 40 of them. And then we want to be able to also have social networking. I mean, you're in the virtual world. Yes, there are people from everywhere, but now you want to put some social in there. So you put social in there by, I think it was like last Friday, they have this open session, and they tell all the kids to come to the schoolyard. And they played basketball. They played basketball together from all over, Mexico, China, Australia, wherever, United States, playing basketball in a virtual world. So we wanted to make sure that we had those components, also woven in, so that it was the full experience, not just the academics, but social as well, because that is important. I do have some comments that came out of from the students who are taking the proof of concept course, and I'll just tell you just a couple of their comments, what they said. They said, learning this way really made a difference. I was able to come out of class knowing that we would be learning about a particular topic, but more importantly, I could ask questions and get a live response. They didn't have to wait. They could ask the questions and get the assistance right there in the virtual environment. Another one said, I bumped into my wall a lot at first until I figured out stationary mode is probably the safest way to go. VR helped. I really understood DNA by looking at the live strands in class. The other one said, and this is the last one, living in the Bahamas, the VR made it almost like a great escape twice a week. It felt like we took a journey every week. 1 week, the Great Wall of China, and the next week, a temple in the desert. So they are transported to these virtual worlds that enhance what they're doing, what they're learning, and reinforcing it much better than just a static online class. So that's kind of what I'm doing, and that's about it. Steve?
All right. Amazing. Any questions? We probably have time for one, maybe two. Let's see. All right.
Thanks for the presentation. That's so interesting, the way education is going. So you mentioned between the initial proof of concept and then the subsequent courses, there were some lessons, there were some changes you made. Could you share some of the lessons learned as you progressed?
What some of the things we changed? Yeah. Okay, so when we first started, we had these activities, and the students, when we were trying to teach them, we were still learning ourselves, but we had to start somewhere. So one of the things that we found out pretty much was like the attendance. We didn't have the students showing up and attending. We were trying to figure out why. And that made us go back to, let's say, the counselors and say, okay, you've got to work with your students to make sure they're going to be attending on a regular basis. We started that because it wasn't for a grade, the very first proof of concept. But the second one, this is for a grade. So they have to be more responsible. They have to come, and they have to be able to do the work. We realized that some of the activities that we were doing, we needed to make them more rigorous, because it wasn't as rigorous as we wanted it to be. And we really wanted them to understand and learn. Some of the other things, just building just the worlds. It took a lot of us to think about, okay, what is it that we want this to say or to do? And because of that, it gave us the creativity for the second proof of concept to really build on what we did from the first one. So it was things like that.
All right, amazing. I think, talking about the metaverse more holistically, education is always pointed to as one of the first drivers, or like in many science fiction movies or novels, that's education is one of the first uses of VR and for the metaverse. And it's just amazing to see what you guys have made. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right.